Good afternoon, Missional AI, or good morning, just about. We're not quite at 12 o'clock yet. How are you all doing? Good. It's a real honour and delight to be here. As you can tell from the accent, I'm not local. I come from the UK and I'm based at a place of Sherwood Forest, who took from the rich to give to the poor with Robin Hood. I'm not coming here to rob you guys. I am a fellow sister in Christ. I'm a lawyer, as you've heard, and I have an absolute passion for AI governance and doing things right. So I'm going to start today to talk about a tale of two cities with you. And before with that, I want to say something from the Bible, from the Word. See, I'm doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland. That was from Isaiah 43, verse 19. Do you have a vision? Do you? Who in this room has a vision? Put your hands up. Is your vision to be leaders in making AI, not just for good, but for God? Hands up. Yeah? God says, where my people have no prophetic vision, the people are unrestrained and they perish. We need prophetic vision. Dickens put it slightly differently in perhaps one of the most famous antitheses in English literature. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times, it was the age of wisdom, it was the age of foolishness, and we had everything before us, yet we had nothing before us. This is the moment we face with AI. So let me tell you that tale of two cities. I see a city with human dignity where that abounds, where people from all nations and tribes communicate freely, where there is agency without interference, community without isolation, refuge for the wounded, no hunger, no homelessness, a place where broken people are made whole. This is the power we hold in our hands, both as Christians and with AI. But I also see another city, a city of fear, where decisions are made about people and for people by algorithm, where discrimination, surveillance and judgment by algorithm abound, where attention deficit, manipulation, brain hacking, and economies of action and addiction and loneliness prevail. And we heard about that young boy Adam and loneliness prevail there. Where no one exercises autonomy without it first being instigated by a machine, and where people cannot vote, cannot seek justice, cannot get access to benefits unless verified by an algorithm. The first city might seem like heaven. The second city might seem dystopian, but I promise you it is happening in a city near you. And I'm not just talking about Silicon Valley here. The choice before us is this. Which one do you want to lead? Which one do you have a vision for? And I believe we have a God-given mandate in this. Genesis tells us that God created and he then created creators. We bear the Imago Dei, and part of that image is what drives us to make, to innovate, to build. But as human beings made in the image of God, we are endowed with moral agency. AI is a human-made product of God-given creativity. And like all things created by humanity, we have a choice. And sometimes the simple, small, iterative design choices are the ones that matter. And as we do that, what we create, how we create it, and what we use it for matters. And as creators of increasingly autonomous AI, agentic systems that execute multi-step action chains, devise plans, formulate code with reduced human input, the stakes have never been higher. AI will have increasingly power to change society. It is changing society, some for good, some not so good. This potential also has the power to interfere with how we think, how we hold opinions, how we express ourselves, to challenge our information integrity and what we perceive as truth, to call into question what it means to be human, and also to have personhood and to have worth. So what are we going to do about it? And this is where I feel that we need to go from values to accountability and to real practice here. We start by recognizing the values that particularly are going to be beneficial to society, the people who are going to be impacted and affected by the very things that we create, those AI systems. and engineering those values in by design, not just as an overlay, but across the whole AI lifecycle. Values that can be translated into technical requirements, measured in deployment, managed throughout operation, and upheld right through to the end, decommissioning. This takes a whole lifecycle approach. And as we've heard earlier this week and at previous Missional AIs, where I've had the honour and privilege to be dialing in remotely, we've heard about our trust framework. Trust being theological alignment, relational impact, utility and justice, stewardship and sustainability, transparency and accountability, including having authority over our creations. But building trust requires us to really get practical, down dirty in the detail, to devise ways that we can assess risk, build in logging and transparency, maintain oversight, even where humans in the loop is becoming really untenable. To put those guardrails, and we heard parapets, those safeguards, for when, not if, our creations become misaligned. Values need to be put into practice, and this is how, through a multi-layered approach, standards, personal commitment, governance, and as a lawyer, I'm going to say law, although it can be a barrier sometimes, apologies about that. So many of you may have heard acronyms like IEEE, ISO, NIST, BSI, ITU, all of these wonderful standards organisations. These are globally recognised bodies that create technical requirements to standardise approaches for safety, security and interoperability. Standards are a form of soft law and they can transcend borders. Here is an example. So can you all look at your phones, please? Many of you will have a little Wi-Fi symbol in the top right-hand corner. And whether you're from the US or further afield, it should be there. You are going to be connected to this building's network through a standard known as IEEE 802.11 and various iterations of it. This is standardisation to give you connectivity. Without that standardisation, everyone would do what was right in their own eyes. They would try here and there and patch into whatever network. And much like in the time of Judges, very few got connected. So that standard fulfilled a value, right? That everyone should be able to access the internet. Without translating that value into technical measures and controls, it would have remained wishful thinking. And so to that end, we do not need to build from scratch these standards and requirements. They're there. The IEEE's ethically aligned design standards, for example, and I've had the honour and privilege, as with some of you in the room, I know, Yvonne, wherever you are, give us a shout out. We've been involved with creating ethically aligned design principles. Now, these are and the whole suite of standards that are quite aligned with biblical principles, not made with biblical principles. And they have at the IEEE a certified certification that provides credible assurance for those who meet its requirements. And I've had the privilege of helping create that, along with other international standards that embed human rights and values by design into technical requirements, and particularly in compliance with the new EU AI Act in Europe. The foundations exist for us to build upon, but we need to build upon them and align with them with theological grounding. So for trust. But standards alone are not enough. Without personal commitment, physicians have the Hippocratic Oath. Some of you who are practitioners of the ACM, you will have signed up contractually to a code of ethics when you had your calling into being developers. Scientists and theologians have the scientists have the Cambridge Declaration on Consciousness. Now we have other documents that I'm very proud to be a part of in the Oxford Collaboration for Theology and AI. It's based at the University of Oxford's Ian Ramsey Centre for Science and Religion. OCTI brings together theologians, AI engineers, business leaders, researchers, and non-academics like me, from across the globe, including the Global South, to address the ethical and vocational dimensions of AI development. And I am pleased to say Glue's own Daniel was part of our workshops at Oxford. One of the key outcomes of the Oxford work was the Oxford Oath for AI practitioners, a professional commitment that calls out for those of us who build, deploy and govern AI to uphold virtues that promote human well-being, moral responsibility and societal flourishing. It is not another aspirational statement to pin on our corporate website. It's a personal vocational pledge. rooted in the conviction that we create has consequences. What we create has consequences. And we bear that sacred responsibility, accountability for those consequences. So alongside the oath, there is an open letter, and I'm asking every person in this room to sign it. AI is a multidisciplinary sport, not just one for engineers and programmers. And you'll find it on the Oxford Open Letter sign-up page on the internet. There should be a QR code coming up very shortly that you can take a photograph and do it, sign it, before you leave the room today, please. But that's only a part of the picture. We need governance. And governance means establishing the structures, the roles, the policies, the procedures, and ensuring standards are followed and performance is aligned with the mission. Boring stuff, I know. But it means that having people who understand what they're overseeing, know how to control what they're doing with AI, and who are empowered to intervene when things go wrong, because we know that they do. And for churches and parachurch ministries deploying AI, this means AI literacy, this means education, this means capacity, competence, capability, and understanding of the consequences of AI, with designated persons who are able to assess the outcomes of what it's doing. For developers, it means building in system capabilities for monitoring and oversight by design, which is values-based, to ensure and enable that those on the ground can oversee and can govern the technology well. That also requires a good long lot of evidence of transparency too. Governance is everyone's task, and it requires us to refuse to deploy what we do not understand and to ensure mechanisms exist for feedback, complaints, and redress to ensure that there is procedural justice in the mix. And governance wouldn't be governance without some teeth and legal accountability or an ability to enforce. In Europe, and sadly not including the UK where I'm from, the EU AI Act is establishing legal frameworks for prohibiting the most harmful AI and ensuring appropriate safeguards are in place to protect and preserve health, safety, and fundamental human rights, particularly in high-risk AI systems. It is far from perfect, but it's a brave and bold starter for 10. As Christians, I believe we should advocate for legislation and regulation that protects the vulnerable, demands transparency, safeguards developing nations from being mere data colonies, and we should support whistleblowers. We should use our prophetic voice, not from fear, but from love and for love for our neighbour in obedience to God. Values, standards, governance, law. This provides our layer cake. It's complex, it's adaptive, like a complex adaptive learning system, these are intertwined. Each necessary, none sufficient alone, but together, undergirded by personal commitment through the Oxford Oath, they form the architecture of responsible innovation, not ethics as aspiration, but values as infrastructure. This brings me then to a slight segue on this, an essential question for every person in this room that's not merely theoretical, but personally practical with eternal consequences. Who are we actually serving? What does the Lord require of you but to do justice, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God? Micah 6, verse 8. That's been my verse ever since my calling into the law. The Lawyers Christian Fellowship, that's their motto. And there's a Lawyers Christian Fellowship in most countries around the world, praise God. Are we serving ourselves, our careers, our reputations, our desire to be seen as innovative? It's a very seductive pill. And there's a pull to build things simply because we can. And we heard, should we? You know, that's a big, strong question from Daniel. He said, just because we can, should we? Are we serving our businesses with quarterly targets and efficiency metrics? I know I've been there. You know, your time score, you've got to have your hours in. When productivity becomes an idol and the amount of AI that you have to use in your jobs, a percentage of your workload, we sacrifice people on its altar. Are we serving people? Which people? Those who can afford the technology or those who are on the other side of the digital divide? Those in the global north where we build the systems, or those in the global south. And I believe that there's more in the global south who are doing the building of the systems now. But often I have seen from my own personal experience with governments that they are being exploited and used for data and to train the models and the environments, and they are the ones that bear the cost. Are we serving the planet? The earth is the Lord's and everything in it. Yet, training a single large language model can consume the annual energy of 1,000 average Western homes. Consumption comes at a cost to creation. Or are we serving God? I think if we're all honest in this room, and this is a sober thought for us, most of us are serving some kind of combination of all of these. And the order is usually in the wrong order. We need to seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. Matthew 6, verse 33, and I think we've heard that a few times this week. When God is first and everything else finds its proper place, innovation becomes stewardship. Technology becomes a tool for human flourishing, and ethics coupled with governance becomes a natural outworking of a life orientated towards the Creator. So what's our legacy? We are not building for ourselves. We are building for our children and their children and their children, as we know from the Song of the Blessing. Every AI system we deploy, every governance framework we establish or fail to establish, every ethical shortcut we take or choose not to take, these are our inheritance that we leave behind. What kind of legacy are we creating, folks? Are we creating institutions that protect the image of God, the sanctity of human life, the sacredness of every image bearer of God, or institutions that treat people as data points? Are we building infrastructure that connects people to God or to one another in authentic relationship, or infrastructure that isolates them behind screens? The choice is actually ours. We make it now and shape the spiritual landscape for generations to come. This is our sacred responsibility, and we will be held to account for it. At the beginning, I told you a tale of two cities. I want to proclaim over each and every one of you right now, and us, that we are fashioned with a prophetic vision for such a time as this. This is our Esther moment. Aspirational ethics, the kind that gets you through tick boxes, it's not enough. But a biblically grounded, theologically aligned set of values backed by standards, technical standards that can put them into practice, undergirded by personal commitment through things like the Oxford Oath, and demanding sacred accountability for what we create, deploy, and use. That is waiting to be born. And it is waiting for people like you and me to bring this to bear. So if you are such a person, you're interested in doing this, come and see me afterwards. Or David Brenner from AI and Faith, show your hands. Samuel Chang of the World Evangelical Alliance, and Yvonne Colson from Global Media Outreach. Any one of us can talk to you about what we've been trying to do with the Trust Parapet framework. We're looking for change agents like you to help us lead, making trust a reality for Missional AI. And if you have not yet signed the Oxford Open letter, do it before you leave this room. We are creative beings made in the image of our Creator. Let us create responsibly. Let us create accountably. Let's create in service and first and foremost of the God who made us, and in service of the humanity he chose to die for and loves. Because when he and we stand before him, and we will, the question will not be, what did you build? It will be, whom did you serve? I just want to thank you. And I want to finally say this, because I hope this commissions you for the rest of your work. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. The knowledge of the Holy One is understanding. Proverbs 9, verse 10. We've been talking about artificial intelligence. God has given us his wisdom. Thank you, everyone. Really appreciate being here.